later on today, the 2023 budget is expected to be passed by the National Assembly. But first of all, let's have Professor Bongo Adi, economist with Lagos Business School, joining us virtually now from Lagos to talk about the supplementary budget and expectations, especially implementation of budgets in Nigeria. Good morning, Prof. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, so that supplementary budget has been causing some raising some eyeballs and eyelids have been moving, especially when you look at the amount, about 819 billion naira, and it's 11 days to the end of the year, or 11 days to the end of one budget cycle, and then we're getting this. Obviously, just as the Senate president there talked about, the issue of debt also increases, and debt servicing has always been a problem before now, and people are asking, is this really necessary at this time?
Of course, the Nigerians have every cause to be, upset with this increase in, borrowing spree. And of course, I like it, as you mentioned, that we have just 11 days to the end of the year, and then government is embarking on new borrowing spree. So, questions that people ask will start from, why not, whatever it is that they're planning to do, can that be built into the next budget cycle, which is yet to come on stream? So why asking for additional funds for a year that has already ended? So, I mean, it's sort of fictitious because it raises eyebrows, truly so. You'll be wondering what the government is going to do with the money when we are already about starting a new budget budget cycle. So it's obviously not a good way to proceed, especially when we are having a very high level of debt to GDP, and of course our debt servicing ratio has gone to the level where we are actually borrowing now to service debt. So increasing that, in fact, marks of insensitivity, and then we've seen the consequences, the negative consequences of this high borrowing on the economy. Inflation is not, of course, is directly related to the high debt we are carrying. And then when you have that level of debt, there is no way to expect that your fiscal condition will ever improve and that inflation will go down. So everything that the CBN is doing will amount to just empty threats, and then CBN's policies have become a toothless bulldog when it comes to really restoring stability to the macroeconomic environment. Because when you are carrying such high level of debt, you are actually setting your government up for a potential default, as we have seen in the case of Ghana. Ghana is defaulting on all these external obligations currently, and that means by next year, it's no longer possible for Ghana to actually participate in the international financial market, cannot borrow money anymore. Then, of course, that's a complete loss of investor confidence. We will not want to allow ourselves to get into such a situation, especially when we are at the cusp of the new election. So whatever has happened, yes, we sympathize, commiserate with the people who've been affected negatively by the flooding. That this new almost $1 trillion naira budget, supplement is supposed to serve. But since it has happened since August, we also noticed that the response of the government has been very slow. Okay, so we're already at the end of the year, and now this is the time for government to remember them. And then if you go through the budget, you will also know that dams and irrigation and all those flood erosion control have been part of the budget that has been executed in the past few years. So we do not have a way to monitor, supervise what has been achieved in the budget to know what else we need. So when we do not have such an evidence-based budgeting process, we keep repeating this sort of mediocrity and failure, and it's a very sad one.
So from your perspective, what would have been an alternative for the government to deal with? Because, I mean, if it's a government and then they have seen this level of devastation and, after effect of the flood on the citizenry, then they should do something about it. What would have been an alternative line of action?
I've heard one of the presidential candidates speaks about what he would do, when it comes to such national emergencies. So we would have expected the government to increase the capacity of the National Emergency, response team, that unit, the department of government that is, responsible for such situations. We would have seen their capacity enhanced over the years. So if they have the capacity to respond to this sort of emergencies, we will not be in this situation. At least there will be a line of first aid for the victims of such natural disasters. So we have departments that are supposed to respond to that. They do not respond because that is the necessary palliative that the citizens who are victims of environmental and climate change disasters need to confront. And then, of course, we will also be talking about climate response funds all over the years. So the question is, what has happened to all of this? What did government do in the past to strengthen all those departments responsible for responding to such, emergent situations? So yes, we should have had, a strengthened capacity to respond to such situations, not waiting until after the fact. Of course, by then the deed has been done, lives have been lost, property been destroyed, and now what are we actually going to rescue? Are we going to build dam 11 days to the end of the year? Are we going to build all those erosion control systems just a few days to the end of the year? Of course, that is not. It's a long-term capital project. Is long-term and it's capital intensive. And then I'm asking also, should government be doing that? Because they've been doing this over the years. We've been getting the same result. Why should government be directly procuring such things? Why can't we open it up to the market? Allow more expertise coming from the private sector to look into it and to do it properly. So I mean, there are so many things that could have been done. There are so many approaches to restoring the situation.
All right. So as it is now, it doesn't look like there's much the citizens can do. I guess all we can do is talk about it. The president has sent the supplementary budget to the National Assembly, and if we're going to judge by,
I don't think that there is. I don't think we have to give up and then say there's nothing we can do. We need to ask questions. Should be talking, and I think our talking and engagement, our agitation, actually should get the government to to think right, especially when it concerns issues that are of critical importance to the citizens. I mean, who is not being affected by the high level of inflation that we have every day? See the suffering that people are encountering, people are going through, the misery everywhere in Nigeria today as a result of government's misdeed over the past few years. We've had this rising debt profile, which I know is directly responsible for the high inflation rate, not actually by what the CBN has done or not done. So when you have such high level of debt, you borrow so highly. Okay, so that reduces your ability to raise further funds and raises your interest rates and your debt service rate. And with that, your exchange rates will definitely dissipate. And then what is the consequence of that, which is high, inflation? So we need to link all of this together to understand what government is doing to us. Because if we don't have that robust understanding, we will not know what government is actually doing. So borrowing additional 1 trillion naira is huge. And then coming at the end of the year, at the end of the budget cycle, surely you and I should be asking, what is government actually trying to do? Are they sure that they're going to put this? I mean, what is the tendering process like? How long does it take, to conclude, the contracting segment of this sort of project? It will not take less than 6 months before you can select the contractors for them. So by then, this government would have actually have gone. So you'll now be asking what happened to that 1 trillion naira. So I'm thinking that they are looking for money for the election. So, but this is not a clean way to go about it. And then I think citizens need to speak about it. We do not want this, irresponsibility and the lack of concern for ordinary citizens who are going through, untold hardship at this material point in time.
All right. Another thing, Professor Adi, is the budget, the 2023 budget is supposed to go in for passage today. But people are also asking, we see the budgets, we see 20.51 trillion, we see this allocated to this. But how impactful has our budgets have been? And the implementation of it. At the end of the day, I think we will normally have Minister of Finance come and tell us that we 80% implementation, 85%. But are the people really feeling even that degree?
When the finance minister or people from the budget office talk about implementation rate, nobody actually queries them. You wouldn't need to ask them, okay, what data? Okay, what is the evidence base that supports that implementation rate that I keep reporting? I mean, everybody knows that budget fungibility, that is the conversion rate 1-to-1. So you spend 1 naira, does it achieve you 1 naira worth of project in real terms? Now, you can only say that, or you can only have some kind of valid evidence on that if you have a very strong monitoring and evaluation team. Earlier, you were showing the president inaugurating the monitoring and evaluation, whatever, at the presidency. I mean, that's something coming too late. This is something we know very well about in our nation. We do not have any set of institutionalized mechanisms to monitor and evaluate projects. Now you have line items. They could be 1 million on the budget. Now, if you are serious, I mean, if you are a unit or let's say a private enterprise, and then you want to allocate your resources across a range of projects, the next thing you need to do is to have a monitoring system, or just like when the international organizations, the deployment organizations, they are implementing projects all over. So for each project, there is also a very strong, competent monitoring and evaluation M&E team that follows the project, that follow the project through from conceptualization to full execution. So they monitor the project, report on the project. There is even before the project starts, pre-start evaluation. There is a midway project evaluation. There is end cycle project evaluation. So you have 3 points of evaluation. So what does it take for the nation to have such kind of mechanism established so that for each line item on the budget, you also have a budget team that follows through the project? Then when a finance minister or someone from the budget office is speaking about budget implementation or what the budget has achieved, you will now be citing evidence that comes from the field. Okay, in this budget cycle, we say we're going to build these 10 kilometers of road from this place to that place. And then based on our data, this is the extent of completion. This is the completion rate, okay, which is data that is verifiable. And then that is something similar to what budget does. Budget follows through, what government says they are doing, with our budget, tracking them. That's their tracker. So can we have some kind of system established, even with active participation of private and non-governmental organizations like budget? It is very easy to monitor budget and very easy to report on implementation of budget. Right now, what we have is just this pile up of money on the same line items over and over again in different years. There is no way to monitor because there's no institutionalized mechanism to monitor and evaluate on projects. And that is why we keep running around in cycles. The budget doesn't deliver anything. So if anybody tells you that the budget has delivered 20% or 30%, please ask what is the evidence base. Show us the data.
Yes, that is why we had that launch yesterday of IMARC, where the presidency have said that it's going to be used to, the people can use it to monitor the level of development of projects, government projects. And we do hope that the website is activated and stays active for Nigerians to be able to follow up on that.
That cannot work. It doesn't work. You cannot leave that as voluntary compliance by citizens. You need to have a rigorously instituted and actually paid for services. So you need to procure the services of some monitoring agency. If you like, you institute it within the government system with active participation of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, the private sector groups. They are there. They can have an institutionalized, very strong mechanism to monitor our budget.
All right,
this thing on voluntary compliance, it will never work. Thank you.
All right. Professor Bongo Adi, thank you so much. Economist with Lagos Business School. Thank you so much for your time this morning.